Well, just, obviously, EJ asked me to kind of put a end of the chapter, I guess, on our game last week, just so, it wasn't 2 weeks later, I guess, when we address each other and talk Florida State on Monday. So we've had a really good week off. I think it's a much needed rest for our team mentally and physically. I think, our kids probably weren't physically prepared like I'd like them to be. I talked to our kids the other day, just a physical preparation. I think it all starts there. And again, I have the same thoughts as I did after that Notre Dame game of what I saw. There's not a whole lot of, thoughts I have after that. I mean, what I saw was probably pretty much what it was. But when you watch our kids on tape and video, I just don't think we were as fast as we needed to be. I think we're one of 5 Power 5 teams that have, worked through this crazy times that we're in and played 7 football games. And, we didn't play, it against, 4 non-conference opponents to start off the year. It was, 1 non-conference and 6 straight physical, tough ACC football teams. And no one else has done that. It was kind of a concern last Thursday in practice, and I cut practice way back. Probably didn't cut it back enough. But I just don't think our kids were, again, there's the mental fatigue as well as the physical fatigue. And obviously it's a good football team. So that's kind of where we started off there. But we've had a good week. I think our kids have needed it. We've got 2 good days of practice in this week. 1 in shells, no full pads at all. 1 in spiders, just running around, working on a lot of, just kind of, what we call the ABCs, the fundamentals of, what we're going to do to get better. Just kind of looked at a lot of tape and just kind of self-evaluated like we normally do in a bye week. At the beginning of the year, I thought that, 7 games in a bye is okay. But when you get into the grind of it, it's not okay. It's kind of rough. And I didn't know other people wouldn't have, would have extra bye weeks with COVID. It's kind of the way, the whole thing worked. But, I thought our effort on Saturday was good. I think they were trying hard. I don't question, maybe 2 plays on special teams where you saw a couple guys not going like hard. And again, even guys that, probably don't play that many reps. But I thought that was good. And then, obviously execution's got to be better. Sometimes execution gets harder when it's against good folks. So with that, I'll just open it up with questions for you guys.
Pat, any update on Kenny's status at the moment?
We're kind of where we were a week ago, just kind of, it's kind of a day by day, I don't know. Obviously, Joey's taken the most of the reps this week and just 2 practices we had. We'll see. You can sit here and hope and pray, and he's working his tail off. He's tough, as we know, and we'll see. Which I could give you an answer yes or no, but I don't know.
You mentioned the 2 days of practice, but how with a bye week? I mean, how did things go about, like in the meeting room? I mean, did you stop and kind of look at your offense and see, kind of see where you guys are through 7 games?
Yeah, and we looked at everything. We've had, a few extra meetings, just looking at tendencies, looking at what we're doing, how we're doing it, and try to address, and again, we can look and we can point the finger everywhere we want to point it. I always say when you point a finger, there's 4 of them pointing right back at yourself, and that's kind of how I like to do business. But we've got to be better. There's no question. But we got to be better on both, really all 3 phases. And we have a block punt right before the half. It's just like, deflating things that happen to you. We have 12 penalties in a game, which I know after the game someone asked about the 12 penalties. 10 of the 12 are in the second half. And, we got ACC protocols where I send the plays in and, put it this way, there's not 12 penalties in the game. But, you feel like there was, and there is. But, we send them in and you get what you get. So, in defense of our kids, it probably wasn't as many as, you might appear. And then again, that's week in and week out. That's, ACC protocol. So just to give that, but, those are frustration penalties. Those are frustration ones that, how do you have 2 in the first half and 10 in the second half? That doesn't make any sense. So it's a little bit of frustration kicking in. But, when you self-evaluate yourself, you also have to look, at the reality of where you are and what's going on. We've got a backup quarterback in the game for the last 2 weeks. You're playing 2 of the top defenses in the country, 2 of the top, top football teams in the country. You don't get there by mistake. And I think, I mentioned that after the game. I mean, so, you got to look at all, things. You can't just look at one thing and say, okay, there's no production. Who cares? This is what it is. But, there's a lot of different reasons that, that play into it.
Pat, Mark Whipple's now kind of been in charge of the offense here for 20 games. How would you assess the job he's done as OC, you're considering last season and this season up to this point? And how confident are you, I guess, that you guys can get this thing right in the final 4 games?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do any evaluating until after the season. That's, the first thing. It's hard to, you evaluate day by day. I mean, the last thing in everybody's mind, and I say this about offense or defense is, what you did last week. What have you done for me lately? Okay. And, I don't think that's fair to do. So I'm not going to evaluate, just like I tell you the defense, I'm not going to sit here and evaluate. I mean, we can evaluate it week by week. We can evaluate it play by play. Hey, good play, bad play. It ends up, what are we going to do at the end of the season? How are we recovering? What are we doing to try to get our playmakers the ball? And those are things we've addressed this week and what we're going to do. And, we'll evaluate at the end of the year. Right now, we just need to regroup and play together and try to, put a better brand out on the field.
Pat, any reason that Davis didn't get more than one series in the Notre Dame game?
I don't know if I mentioned that afterwards, but the first under center snap that I think hit him in the chin was all part of that. And I'd say just what you did when you're out there, and maybe we should have given another series, but it's just coach's decision. So it's not easy. It ain't easy going after. He's another young guy. We've got 2 redshirt freshman quarterbacks, guys. It's where we are right now, and it's not easy for anybody. I got a lot of faith in Joey Yellen. Got a lot of faith in Davis Bevel and Nick Patty for that matter.
Pat, looking at the tape, you've often talked about trying to make things consistent on both sides of the ball and seeing consistent production from players. What was something that you saw that was inconsistent? Maybe looking back on your past few games, but you've seen improvement from different departments in your practices, looking at things this bye week.
You talking offense or defense or just overall?
Oh, either side of the ball, just like if there's any like specific group that you've seen improvement on where we might have seen inconsistency.
Again, it goes week by week. I mean, you look really good when you're playing Austin Peay. All of a sudden, Notre Dame doesn't make you look as good, Chris, so it's hard to say that. If I look just last week, obviously you're not happy with anything. I mean, we're blitzed. I talked about those 129 starts. You talk about Ian Book this year compared to 2018. It's a different dude. And I thought we're a different animal too. But everybody kind of elevates their game. You hope everybody's getting better every year, every week. But it's really hard to say that, because there's different guys you're going against. I mean, just looking at some of our pressure. I mean, when you watch the tape and you guys go plug it in and watch it again, I mean, we've got some good stuff. Our guys are doing some good stuff, but they're getting blocked. And those other guys are on scholarship, and they're big and they're strong, and they got 129 starts for a reason. Our defense played hard. They did some good things, but, we had a lot of one-on-one blocks up front. And really, our defensive ends were winning some matchups inside. Kalijah won a match on a big play, but just a second too late. And again, if it's an average line, it looks a lot different. But you probably couldn't have faced a more experienced offense or defense, for that matter, in both those football teams. I mean, it's an experienced group on both sides of the ball, and they're sound and they're physical. So I mean, you're trying to compare the improvements. It's a kind of a week by week. We made improvements through the weeks, and then there's some things you did good, but it just doesn't look as good because of who you're going against. If that makes any sense.
Coach, you mentioned frustration in the second half. How are you dealing with the frustration level now? I imagine the bye week came at a good time. Are you dealing with as much mental right now as you are some X's and O's?
Not really. I mean, I think our kids, I think we closed the chapter because we gave them Sunday off, and we closed the chapter on Monday. So it was about 60 hours post game. So it's kind of a little bit more time involved, just to let them, have that Sunday and relax and soak it all in. So, I mean, every day's mental. I mean, every day's a mental game, whether you're winning or losing. There's dealing with the guys that can't deal with success or the guys that can't deal with failure. So I think that's always something. The mental never leaves. It's always there. But, I think there's frustrations during the game, but I think our kids rebound quickly and then they're ready for the next challenge. And that's what we've done this week. And our guys, like I said, 2 good, energetic practices so far this week. They weren't, about an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to get them fresh. I got to get our guys playing fast. I got to get them feeling feeling fast and physical and having their legs underneath them. I mean, it's hard to see the speed of a D lineman, but I just don't think physical preparation wise, again, just 7 straight grinds. And, there's more to the grind than just what you see on the field. I don't think people give these kids enough respect for what they go through during the week, whether it's, the training room, all the hours they spend here, getting COVID tested 3 times a week and waiting in line and your 6-foot distance down in the training room to get all those things. There's a lot of things involved, and it's a long season. And our kids have done a heck of a job of getting where we've gotten as far as just being able to play those games. And my hat goes off to them again, because you see it happen around the country, whether it's Wisconsin and now down to Clemson in the NFL. I mean, it's not, and our kids have done a great job at that, but it doesn't give you a win or loss.
Pat, is this bye enough time to you talked about doing some self-scouting, but to see something that maybe you can be doing differently and then put that into a game plan to use next Saturday?
No question about it. There is. And, a bye week is big because you got a lot of time to evaluate it and see where you are for sure. Bye week is all you need. We don't need 2 bye weeks. I don't want 2 bye weeks.
What are some of those things that, I mean, obviously, I don't expect you to tell me the whole game plan, what you're going to do differently, but maybe what are some of the areas that you've seen, specific areas that you've seen that you think you can improve on given these 2 weeks?
Again, I'm not going to give you the game plan. I'm not going to give you anything really there. I mean, there's all kinds of things. It's, it starts with, this week we worked a lot on fundamentals. It's just making sure, that we've got to do our job, regardless of what the coverage is, the front coverage is, the blocking scheme up front, or the pass concept. So, it comes down to, first of all, just getting back to basics and having time to, more time to focus on that. I think that's probably where it starts.
Pat, does it become a lack of confidence thing? And is there something in practice you can do to build that or to reestablish that if that's the case?
I think, you always worry about that, but I think, the only thing to get your confidence back is a win. So we need to go out and play well. We need to be coached up well. We need to execute well. And the way you get confidence back is to get a W. I think that's the most important thing.
Pat, I know you recruit a certain type of player, especially on defense, a way that you want to play. You like to send guys, you like to leave your corners out there and hope they win more battles than they lose. That being said, this year you guys have been susceptible to the big play. At what point do you kind of say, you know what, maybe we just need to have our front 4 kind of do their thing and the other 7 guys kind of drop back and provide as much help as possible?
Well, we do both of those. So that's part of our plan. That's part of what we do. I mean, you can go through it where we're, dropping 7 and playing cover 3. You're bringing pressure and playing cover 3, and you're playing your quarters. Again, it comes down to who you're playing against and what they do against you. And, I think we do a pretty good job at that. So, I don't know where we're ranked in the country. We'll see where we are at the end of the season. We're not going to consider and grade anybody off of 1 football game. And, we gave up 3 touchdowns on defense on short fields, gave up a block punt for a touchdown before the half. That's 28 points. You subtract 28 from 45 or whatever it was. We can't give up short fields. You're not going to be very good on defense if you're giving up 38-yard touchdowns, period. It's just tough. And the offense is sky high when they see that field position, and there's a momentum change in the game, and it's not easy. So we're gonna, you watch football on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm sure it's not, you're not just watching Pitt football, but I see it all over the place. And I don't think it's any different. We're gonna make plays. They're gonna make plays, and we just hope we make more plays and score more points than the other team. We're not going to be perfect. I can promise you that.
Pat, obviously the Florida State game and the other games are important for your seniors and the rest of the team, but are the games also important, and this game coming up also important, just for the general nationwide perception of your program at this point?
Every game, we're going to play it one at a time and try to be 1-0, but every game's important. And, I'm not worried about the perception outside. I'm worried about the perception inside here. I'm not worried about all the pundits out there. I'm worried about what our kids feel. And what our coaches feel. And again, I want it for our kids. I'm not worried about everybody out there. I don't read about what you guys say out there, nor do I like to, because I know how it is. I mean, I know what it's like. So that's why I don't have to even look. That's kind of the way this world is built and the way it is. And social media makes it even nicer.
Why don't we take a couple more? Will, I believe you had a question, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Pat, I'm working on a story on sort of mental health opportunities for student athletes, and I got a chance to talk to Kristen Mackel last week, and she was great, by the way. I felt like I owed her a copay at the end of our talk. She was so
pay up.
She was so good at breaking me down. But and she mentioned specifically that when her staff became, and she and Lee came on full time to be embedded at Pitt, that you basically brought her into the facility and said, guys, this is, if you need help, this is one of the people you need to talk to. You mentioned earlier, Kessman mentioned earlier in the year about talking to somebody. I know you connected him with somebody that you met in Michigan State. I'm just sort of curious, what role do you see as a head coach has in sort of making sure kids are aware of what's available to them, and how more aware are you of their mental health and the importance of that now compared to, even back when you were playing? I mean, I'm sure coach wasn't trying to figure out where you were at back then.
No, I mean, this world is different. We're living in. I mean, it's different in your business than it was 25 years ago. And, these children, these kids, these players, these student athletes, need coaches in all phases. It's just tough. It's more single parent homes. They got situation with friends at home that happen over the weekends that you just shake your head like, I never had to deal with like what happened to one of your friends. I mean, there's so much going on in these kids' lives that we have to give them more support in whatever it is. And I hope they come in my office, to talk about certain situations, and they do. And then we try to get them as much support as we can on the outside. That's, from professional, because I'm no pro. But Kristen Mackel has done an outstanding job in her time here. And we appreciate she's zoomed in with us during the COVID time. She's definitely support. She's our mental coach. I'm the head coach. She's the mental coach. We got a training coach, physical and, therapy training, physical therapists. We have them all. We have position coaches. So, the more support we have in every phase is so important. And these kids the mental part of it is a big deal, because if they don't have the mental, it's hard to have the physical at the same time.
Did you have, and when you were playing, did you have anything, was that even something that came up? I mean, hey.
We didn't have academic advisors. We didn't have, we had trainers, we had an equipment guy, but we didn't have, you didn't have tutors. You didn't have, I never had an academic meeting with my advisor. You didn't have those things back then. And again, as the world evolves, so does the education and the mentorship by people in different phases. And it's an incredible thing that I think some people look at it and go, oh, it's nothing, but it's part of your scholarship. Is that we're going to be there for you whatever happens.
Appreciate it.
Time for one more question from anyone.
Pat.
Jim, I don't think we've heard from you. We'll give you the honors.
Pat, how does the bye week change with COVID? I know this week, normally you guys would be out maybe watching some high school games, doing some more recruiting. I mean, how does that change? What does tonight look like with not being able to go to a Friday night game?
It gets a little boring. It's like odd, but we knew that coming into this week, which, made it a little bit easier for us to be around our kids and meet with our kids, a little bit more. We practiced twice, but we met more than twice to watch videotape and get locked back in on what we need to. But obviously, there's no recruiting going on. So we were able to be around our kids. They've gotten 3 lifts in this week. I believe it's been 3. And, it's different. They didn't get tested today with COVID. You only test on Friday if you're playing a game. So they tested on Sunday, or actually they did not test on Sunday because we gave them the day off. So we tested on Monday and Wednesday. So they still have to deal with, those, and we're in a good place here right now. And, we give them a day off on Saturday, and hope they all come back healthy. That's obviously my concern. That's my worry over the weekend is they don't play, and I'm going to give them time off. I want them to be mentally fresh as well as their physical freshness, which I think we've gotten to this week.